each vendor, and he actually records it.
The clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Colodey.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Sacks.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, first item up is actually public participation. Any members of the public wish to speak? Marty does. Come on up. It's on your honor at 3 minutes because I don't have a timer ready, so.
30 seconds.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Marty Danaher, 115 Lagoon Court, New Smyrna Beach. And I'm speaking for a couple of my neighbors who requested that I bring this to everyone's attention, and I'm sure you're all aware of it, and I'm sure you're probably working on it, which I told them, but they said, well, will you please bring it up? They really like the Live Oak Center. They really like the building. The acoustics, as we know, are a real problem, and they're complaining about it, and I said, I will officially make your comments known. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. I'll comment on that. If there's any other members of the public, anybody else wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. Kyle and I literally talked about it last night. Yep. That is in progress. I know it's taken longer. I could give you the whole story. It's a long story. Back orders, finding the right engineer that can verify it and guarantee it, and yada, yada, yada. None of those answers are great because it still isn't done. So we know that. We're working on it. Staff is, but literally just last night of that conversation. That's why I smiled when you started talking about Live Oak.
I really like the building.
Yeah, it's a great facility, but the acoustics, we all are in agreement. All right, staff report on the budget workshop.
Good evening. Nancy Maddox, Leisure Services Director. Mayor, Commissioners, I'm the first one to start off the budget workshops, so I'm excited. And we're going to start off with our goals for this year. Create and implement a free adults arts program at Babe James. When we did CCR, one of the top 3 requests for programs for the adults was arts programs. So we're actually in progress with, we've already partnered with the Artist Workshop, and they're going to start programs in March at Babe James, so more information to come soon. Increase the revenues at the Brandon Center. Year-to-date, 18-19 was $43,000 this time, and at 19-20 we're at 66 already, so we're already up 54%, so we're way past the 15%. We are participating. We're one of 6 recreation departments in the state that's doing a healthy living after school pilot program. We have 21 kids in that program. We are creating a Saturday Echo program at Live Oak quarterly. That's in progress, but we're still in the planning stages. Excuse me. And we're partnering with HR to help implement a healthy living initiative for our employees. 3 things actually. We're working with the restaurants in town to do a taste of New Smyrna Beach, along with their seaside dining weeks. So it's going to be like magical dining, if you're aware of that. I don't know if you are. Something similar. We're doing a film festival with the Hub, and we already have 200 applicants, and I think 5 of them were from different countries, 2 from Japan. And with the Youth Council, Art in Public Places is going strong with the Sharks, so we're moving along with that. Accomplishments. As you know, we got grants from DEP and ECHO last year, $4 million worth. We're part of the Turnbull and Coastal Community Resiliency programs. We created a free after-school teen program, Razzle Dazzle, which is a huge success, and we doubled our participants this year. Last year we did a STEAM program with ACA. This year we're doing it with Friends of Babe James. We're actually doing a computer program. The kids are going to learn coding. They're going to learn how to make their first video game. They're going to do Legos film and action. So we're really excited about that. Of course, we partnered with Live Oak, with COA and ACA. And we've raised over $35,000 in partnerships for different programs for the kids. And that's outside of our budget. So Pretty proud of our staff and our Friends of Babe James for doing that for our community. Requests. We've never had a master plan for parks and recreation. It's kind of really hard to really, instead of just grabbing ideas, it'd be really nice to have a real plan of action for what we should do. And Faith and I would like to, in collaboration together, do a whole parks and give us our maintenance, our real needs, especially with the talks of out west, what our needs are. You know, do we really need another community center? We would have public meetings and ask the public exactly what they want. They would be a big part of this, again, because we're ever changing. More and more people are coming to New Smyrna Beach. So that's one of the things that we would like to request. I've asked a couple times for an electric cart for special events. We have a truck to go around. It's very difficult during special events to get through the public. I think it would be a lot safer and to keep picking up trash and all of that as we have our special events. Asking for a full-time employee for the City Gym and Live Oak. Live Oak on the weekends, on Saturdays. We're starting to rent it out more. We're starting to rent it out in the evenings, some also. And then the City Gym, we have a person go and open the gym for basketball or the airplane gentleman or pickleball. But staff is not there, so it's totally, they could be doing whatever, you know. So it'd be nice to have an employee overseeing the facilities. Stop me overseeing the facilities. Stop me if you have any questions, by the way. Turnbull Trace, part of the FCT grant, we're obligated to build an observation deck, a kiosk, educational signage, benches. I was kind of conservative but also realistic because of all the engineering required for an observation deck. And we don't know the grounds or anything, how hard that is or anything like that. So construction documents, all of that, I'm asking for $150,000 for that. We could use general fund, or we could take some money from the reimbursement of the FCT grant. Those are just options for you to decide how you want to fund that project. But we do need to do it within the next few years. But sooner is better.
Good
Nancy?
question for you.
Sure.
You say we need to do that. Are we under an obligation?
Yes,
to
it's in the
create that?
FCT contract.
Thank you.
New Smyrna Beach Skate Park addition. The city did an ECHO grant 15 years ago to create what is there now. What do you call it? The office space is really lacking and a little scary. I'm a little worried about it, honestly. And so we've been approached by Mrs. Liller and others. They would like to see us do the phase 2 and 3 that was originally proposed 15 years ago. We do have some park impact fees for next year, $75,000. We could do an ECHO grant for $125,000, and Katie and others have offered to help find sponsorships. And when we're going out to do the naming rights and everything, that will be before you next month. I think that will give us a good opportunity to utilize that. Ellison Acres acquisition and future environmental center, again, something for you to think about. If I know that was one of the priority properties for you to purchase. If we did go for an Echo acquisition, we would have to do something with that property for education, for environmental education, in order to qualify for Echo. And we could be doing uplands, environmental education. We could work with the Volusia County School Board and other colleges around. There's definitely an interest. I've already talked to the school board, and that's something that we could be partnering with them on.
Nancy,
Yes.
tell me about go back to the other slide, the skate park, the 125,000 from Echo. So under this proposal, we would need to get that to move forward. What is the likelihood and how much time would it take?
Well, we're working right now on a design. And also what would happen was it'd be 125 from Echo and 125 between sponsorships and our park impact fees. So it's a $250,000 project total. With the vert ramp that they want to build that's indoor, along with that vert ramp would be an office in the front and a storage area and everything else. So we could get rid of that
Portable.
trailer. I was trying to think of a good word for it, but I couldn't.
There's no good word for it.
It's scary. We could get rid of the trailer and have a real office and have an area where they could have a little store and everything. And I think this would complete this skate park. And it would be within the current lease that we already have with them, with the airport.
Okay, how long ago was that built? Remind me.
10 years ago.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Just real quick on the timeline he mentioned. So I assume they're in the current Echo process, so it'd be for next year's Echo process at the earliest.
Correct. We would go in December of next year, we would apply, which would give us time to raise money and also have the construction documents and have everything ready and prepared to go.
So how much money are you looking to allocate for us to budget in a perfect world? In other words, the 75,000?
75 from park impact fees.
Thank you.
Okay. Future capital projects, possible capital projects. A community recreation center west of Holland Park. Again, if we did the master plan, we could find out what would best be needed, whether it is a community center, whether it's whether more fields, whether, it would tell us. So, but I'm saying for now, a recreation center for now. An environmental center at Ellison Acres, if we go for the grant for acquisition. If they can decide to go for Echo and the extension of Echo and Volusia Forever, that's another possible funding source that we could utilize. And then, of course, Coronado Center, Civic Center, yes, it's nothing wrong with it. We rent it a lot, but we could use some bathroom upgrades and just kitchen upgrades. It's been there a long time. And then the Live Oak Cultural Center atrium, which is in between the gym and the Live Oak Cultural Center, that grassy area. Originally, there was supposed to be an overhang to connect the two buildings to make it one, but we ran out of funding. So we did put the footers in, and that's another opportunity for naming opportunities or some other possibilities. So, and other than that, that concludes my part.
All right.
Any
So
questions?
real quick before we dive into questions, and I probably should have started off with this, but just to kind of step back, big picture view. So this year, heard some of the feedback from last year, and that was wanting a little more time to kind of digest this stuff and take a little more time to go through this. So this year, we're going to do what last year was kind of condensed to one day. Everybody came, we did this back to back to back. This year it's going to be kind of spread over. So Nancy gets and Faith gets the unfortunate ones of being the first up, and so they kind of just presented, now they're presenting again. So not a huge movement between the two. We're not deciding, we're not making any final decisions on the budget tonight. This is the time to kind of absorb information and ask any questions you want, make any comments you want. I mean, this is the time to comment and make observations, but we're not making a motion that we, approve this budget tonight. This is going to be presented as part of, because there's moving parts. This might be great until we see the next presentation that has higher priority items. So we have to see it all together, but this is our chance to just do a deep dive. And if there's questions you've always wanted to know about leisure services or your constituents have asked you, this is our chance to kind of do that deep dive. So just kind of setting the stage. But the one thing I hope this gives us is a little more time, because even if you see it now and you forget to ask, we have the time to go back and follow up at some future budget meeting and say, hey, let me ask about that leisure services, or follow up with staff. So with that, I'll open the floor. Commissioner Colodi, Vice Mayor Colodi.
Hi there.
Hi.
Being first is actually a very good thing because it'll give you more time to digest what we have to say.
Just don't remember me in the end.
I don't remember anything. I have a pen. So and I do really appreciate going line by line. It was one thing that I complained about the most last year. And so I'm ready to go through this line by line and give you my overall impressions as to where we're going. The idea for a master plan is really good. I like that. I don't know if it'll cost $100,000, but I expect that you will look forward to it, assuming the rest of my fellow commissioners and mayor agree, to come up with something a little more detailed as to what we would spend for that. I have always had the problem as to why we're doing this park and why we didn't do another park, and then I hear, well, we had a storm, and then this one looked pretty ratty, so we just kind of moved that way. So that's a good idea. Golf cart, fine, no problem with the golf cart. The live oak, I like that. City Gym Live Oak. I don't know if you need one full-time employee, maybe a half-time employee would be a good way to work our way into it at that. Turnbull Creek, Turnbull Trace, got to lose the name Turnbull Trace.
Yep.
Just cross out the trace, call it Turnbull. That, along with Ellison Acre, go together for me. I don't want to buy Ellison Acre. It's an old property. It's a very expensive property. We could spend that money through the Turnbull in many other places. I would not mind buying a conservation easement. We will have monies available for that, which will preserve the wetlands. If we buy Ellison Acres, the access to it's not even off a main road. It's a really old building, and I'm sure we would find out to upgrade it for our use. It just simply would be a money pit to do that. I would prefer to apply for a grant, an ECHO grant, to build that type of center in Holland Park. So I think that would be a great idea, because we have some funds. We have to do improvements there, which we should, including the dock and the pathways and the walkways. So I would like to see our effort directed that way. I know the Turnbull Committee looked at it. They liked the property, but I don't think they understood the full ramifications of what would be necessary to put it into a shape that we would want to use. So I'd like to see it come up with a proposal to do something out in Holland Park. Skate park addition. I honestly don't pay much attention to the skate park. I'm too old for that. It is a lot of money. Perhaps we could do it in a little farther down the road. Look into it, see if there's any type of short-term improvements to bring it up to current standards. I will go out and look at the trailer out there, which I don't ever remember looking at, and that may change my mind.
It'll change your mind, I promise you.
It's an embarrassment.
Well, there's a lot of embarrassments that we own, and we're going to
Agreed.
get to some of the other ones.
Agreed.
That might be much more important. The center west of Holland Park, I think that's going to be necessary in the next couple of years. I think it's going to have to be west of 95. We have a firehouse out there now. We are in the process of dealing with the UC, I hope, on detailed improvements that could go on out there, perhaps such as the maintenance facility, which is not your problem, could be incorporated out there. But there are a lot of people living out there. There's a lot more. They're new to the city. The more they stay, the more questions they will have and really try to fit into our community. So that's a good idea. Once again, the Environmental Center, put it in a park. Coronado Civic Center, which is in my district, nobody has ever complained to me about the condition of that. So if we want to have some restroom improvements, so be it. That would be good. Live Oak Cultural Center, I have no problems with that either. So those are my Live Oak Cultural Center, I have no problems with that either. So those are my line-by-line comments. Not in detail, but something for you to think about.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Other comments or questions?
Yes, Mr.
Mr. Sachs, Commissioner Sachs.
Good evening, Nancy.
Good evening.
Apparently, Mr. Ellison or the Ellison family is interested in selling that property.
Yes.
Okay. If I could recommend, you would like to put a community center west of Holland Park. We have that really nice water feature just to the north of the trail. There's a lake and the canal itself, Turnbull Creek. So I wonder, could we eventually put in a pier and access to the water with canoes?
That was actually part of the original request of ECHO a while back, but we had to scale down because of costs with Holland Park.
Do you think that might be an alternative? I mean, the community rec center west of the park, I would make sense for the Bergening west side of
That's
the
what we're
city.
talking about, yes.
Okay,
It's two separate things.
okay, two separate things. My big interest is to improve what we have now first. I know there are some small deficiencies in the parks that we have. If we could take care of those first, it would make me very happy. Is it true that ECHO is running out? Or they may not?
Next year is the
Providing-
last year. It is our understanding, I have heard from a few people that there is still quite a bit of ECHO dollars left. I just don't know how they're going to utilize those dollars.
So it's time to ramp up and put all our requests in? for
Next year is the
projects
last year,
to be
yes.
put in a queue and,
Yes.
yes. Really quickly, I don't have anything major or serious. Thanks, go ahead.
We'll
guys.
keep going and
Yeah,
come back to you. We'll
yeah,
have a
thanks.
chance for another brief, but I
Sure.
want to make sure we save enough time for Faith as well. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, yes, thank you, Mayor. The Ellison Acre property, you're talking about the preschool? Okay. You know, in line with what Jake was saying, I want to focus on, or I want to prioritize properties and things we already have and we need to improve or redo. I think those are great. We have a lot of areas where people can launch kayaks. We have an entire river. We're talking about the AOB site. I don't necessarily think we need to do a duplication of services when we have some existing places that are in really bad shape, like the skate park. We put it out there. It's a great idea. It gets used a lot, and I think we need to upgrade it. So when we start having to figure out where we apply our money, I'd like to make the things we have that are okay or even better, and not put a lot of money into new things that are going to not only cost a lot, but cost a lot of money to maintain, docks and all that kind of stuff. Great idea. Love to get there. One day we will. But I want to focus the money in things we have now that need to be upgraded and fixed up. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Hartman, any comments?
So my comments is the first thing that we need to do is to do the master plan. Because without the master plan, we really don't know what our needs are, what we have, what our long-term costs are going to be. we may do something and they say, well, all your playground equipment's going to wear out in 5 years, you're going to have to replace all of that. So that's, going to be a big budget issue. So I think the master plan is what we truly need to focus on. And if any way we can get it started this year's budget even with getting prepared for early budget cycle, I think to me, that's very important. Because I'm getting a lot of comments from 10% of our population lives west of 95 now. It could be up to 25% in a couple of years. So they're asking, well, what are we doing for them? So I think that the master plan would give us an opportunity to look at the pocket parks that are already in PUDs, what's already out there available, what's land may be out there available that we may not do anything for 10 or 15 years, but we certainly should be looking at that part of the future and maybe purchasing land or acquiring, if the county's not going to use the school land, maybe we could do something with them. So I think to me, that's the most important part about all of this. I support you in everything else. I really didn't realize the skate park was actually functional because it looks so bad the last time I was out there. So I apologize for that. But I agree with everybody else. I think what we really need to do is say, what do we have now? What are our expectations in the future with equipment and usage? And then focus on that and see where we can go from there. So I certainly agree. But, it's certainly not going to hurt to put request ECHO funds for future projects because you don't know if it's going to be out there, and in some weird way, we get one of those, it may be something that we want to move up on a list. So, I support everything that you're trying to do, but I think the master park is the primary thing. And that was brought up in the strategic planning session. They commented that they're surprised we didn't have one, a city of our size. And so I think that's something that we truly need because it gives us, I can fall back on the residents and go, well, look, I have 15 parks and they're all graded A or B, so, we're pretty good in the park setting. But without that information, I don't think you guys even know. It's a hit and miss kind of thing going, hey, the swing set's starting to rust out, you better come look at it.
I was going to, Faith
on all our playgrounds.
Okay.
does do that, yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but that can be rolled into the master plan, so we know where we're going to go in the future. We can have a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plan.
And that's where we can cut some costs is because Faith has a lot of data already. And then what we have, we can add to. I did call a few consultants, and that's how I got the $100,000 figure. It's anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 usually. So that's where I got that figure.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll make it brief, trying to save the back half of the hour for Faith. I don't disagree. I heard a lot of actually agreement from the commission up here. Maybe a few little nuances. I think I agree with I forget who said it on this side, but the Ellison Acres. I don't know, and I know we've got a whole committee kind of looking at those. So I'm going to put a lot of weight on what they say, but it's just bang for the buck on those dollars we spend. In that setting, we're buying highway frontage, which comes with a commercial premium value that the seller's going to want. We're obviously not going to get that, but I always go back on these to, if you don't do it and then somebody else buys it and starts building an auto zone there, and then we take flack for that as well. So no perfect answer. I'm very anxious to see what the committee comes up with as recommendations on those. But I summarily agree with the rest. I agree wholeheartedly the master plan is the first because that can inform the rest of these. And then to Commissioner Clody and McGurk and others said it about investing in what we have. I don't want to be trying to, build a new park. We start planning it, but only we start building a new park when we have ones like the skate park that are a bit of an embarrassment. So investing in what we have, and my personal preference would be, let's get some really, really nice facilities. And we do have really, really nice facilities, but let's make the ones we have really, really nice, rather than trying to spread ourselves too thin. Like I'd rather than having 15 parks that just consist of a swing set, I'd rather have a couple of really nice parks that have a swing set and this and this and a lot of amenities, rather than spreading ourselves too thin. So it kind of dovetails back to that master planning concept, I think. But you look at Whistle Stop Park and Edgewater, and I give them a lot of kudos. My family's visited that park. It's a well done. They got a lot of amenities there in that one space. You can have a volleyball game, a basketball game, and everything going on at the same time. So I think keeping that in mind. So
I believe that was a bond referendum for John, how much?
no, I get it. No, I know I'm just saying. But over time, we can build up to that rather than spreading ourselves thin and having a lot of little things. I'd like to see us investing in what we have and making sure it's as nice as it can.
And again,
it
the
can
master
possibly be.
plan will help us.
And this all comes back to master plan. So, so no concerns with anything. And yeah, golf cart for sure. Let's get that done. I saw that at Images when I was wandering through. It's like you got to have that to be able to navigate. So, closing thoughts on this briefly.
Just
Yep.
a quick question. Have you given a chance to the Leisure Services Board to review your future capital projects?
We always go talk with them, and we've been working with them on the naming rights also. So yes, we do work closely with them on all our projects, so.
Is this compilation in agreement with, that they've had a chance to vet it and they're okay with what you guys
We're
are
gonna
doing?
review, I wanted to work with you all first and get your comments first, so, and then go and work with them, so I'll let you know in March.
Thanks.
Last comment I forgot to mention is Commissioner Clody said about Turnbull Trace. I don't know how we change that and what we call
We'll
it.
just change it to Turnbull Creek.
Well, maybe it's that, or maybe we involve the community in trying to come up with some other namesake. I don't know the answer, but I agree. I don't like Turnbull Trace, but so I welcome recommendations on how to come up with a better name that is more fitting of the property. I heard some folks throw out some names that are very kind of futuristic is the wrong word, but meaning like Generations Park or something like that. This homage to like, hey, we're buying this for future generations. But anyway, anything but Turnbull Trace is my thought.
I think Turnbull Trace is just a leftover from the old
It is,
development,
yeah,
and
for
we
sure,
never
yeah.
we never actually gave it a name.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would just cross it off, and that takes care of that.
All right.
Worry about a name
I'm fine
later.
with that. Okay. Thank you, Nancy, and your team.
Wait for her to get the slide. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Faith Miller, Maintenance Operations Director. I know I have a lot of detail in here, so I will skim over some of this because I'm sure you've read it. Talking about our goals for this year, some of these we've already accomplished or are close to accomplishing. Pettis Park, the new playground is in, was completed December 13th. The ADA handicap ramp replacement at Esther Street Park is on your agenda for February 11th for award. The resurfacing, we're meeting with the contractor on Monday, and we hope they can mobilize midweek next week and be done around the beginning of March with that project. We had a lot of discussion yesterday about the solid waste transition that we're working on this year. The basketball courts are scheduled to be resurfaced this year through CDBG funding. The marina restroom facilities, it's budgeted for the design only at this time. We have purchased a sandbagging machine for our future, hopefully not hurricanes that we don't have, but we do have a sandbagging machine. And we're going to revamp our operations for distributing sandbags that are filled over through the sports complex. And we're putting a metal building, and we'll have them pre-staged and hopefully never have to use them would be my preference. But others are just the regular maintenance, managing our contracts. We did receive another Division of Forestry grant just recently for $31,000. We're going to do a tree inventory and risk assessment of our trees on public properties to identify those trees that we need to address in the future. It'll help the planning department as well with some of their projects when they're evaluating trees too. So, next slide was accomplishments from, I think in the interest of time, you're pretty familiar with all of these that were done last year. And to to get into our capital projects, they're by division here, so there's quite a few. Under administration, our maintenance operations building on Industrial Park, we do need to replace the roof that's failing, and we need to replace the skylights in the fleet division, and that's proposed for the general fund for this coming year. The next one is the marina. We'd like to, if the design is done this year, we want to do update the restroom facilities next year. Under parks, Buena Vista, we wanted to do phase 2 because we have exercise fitness equipment there. It would be beneficial to have the rubberized surfacing instead of mulch for that type of equipment, and that was a phase 2 for that. Turnbull Street Park, it's a small neighborhood park. We had to remove the playground structure for deterioration, so we'd like to replace that with something small. That's one of the parks that has just swings and a slide right now. We also had a project at one time that we wanted to enhance the landscaping at I-95 and State Road 44 to enhance the walls with, plants, make it a really good entrance to the city. DOT, their medians are all bahia grass, or they sometimes turn to weeds, but they're non-irrigated, so that's a lot of the expense here to enhance the landscaping would be adding irrigation, changing the grass to St. Augustine, maybe at least at that entranceway is the idea, proposal. So the next one is the sports complex. David has quite a few things in here, of course, with the turf that we're working on, and I haven't heard from him yet.
We literally just got an email.
Oh, you did?
We
Okay.
were approved as eligible for the ECHO grant.
Great.
So it's not a done deal, just means we've made it through the
Okay.
next step of the process, so yeah.
So one of his next big projects is to retrofit the field lights to LED. I believe that might be ECHO eligible, depending on how many other projects we submit. He also, we spend $144,000 annually for just lighting the fields at the sports complex, and he estimates about a 70% savings if we were to go to all LED. I know it's a large expense. We could phase it in and do a couple fields per year or something if the commission wanted to look at that. His others are mainly repairs and everything we need to get. He'd like to add electronic gates with keypad access. We need to replace the roofs on the dugouts and replace the concession stand locker room roofs, which we have planned out to a future year, 21-22. He'd like to add an irrigation pump and resurface the parking lots. Those are further years out. And then our streets division, we're under design for the Barracuda Bridge and the 5th Street replacement. The design costs were funded this year. That's FDOT 75%, city 25%. The actual replacement costs are yet to be determined on that. That's why there's no dollar amount in there right now. Streets resurfacing, we upped it this year to $700,000, so I showed that figure across the next few years. Our maintenance ops yard, the upgrades, we have an existing 9-bay, 7,000 square foot building, and it didn't really flow right, but there are some pictures in here of that building. You're welcome to come visit our facility, that and our Smith Street facility. The existing 9-bay building is rusting significantly. 2 years ago, I had a quote for $100,000 to $150,000 to repair that facility. We store a lot of our equipment in there to keep it out of the rain, the pumps, everything you can think of, stormwater hoses, everything in there. And if the city, one of the other projects we were considering is if the city ever wanted to relocate the Smith Street facilities, which is our building maintenance division. They have significant failing roofs in their buildings. We were debating about bringing them over to our maintenance ops on Industrial Park as well. And they would need a similar type of building, but they would need at least 2 bays air conditioned for a street, the sign shop that we have down at the other facility. So And we have 2 fishing piers that were damaged during the storms, Rocco Park and the Dunes Spyglass Fishing Pier. We went to bid in, what year was that, 2018, we went out to bid, and we didn't do the Rocco Park because of the cost at the time. And they've been closed since then, and I was looking for direction as to whether or not we want to remove them, just take them out because we've had them closed, or if we want to look at rebuilding both of those and rebid it. These prices were estimated from the 2018 bid. And that was right after storms, so I don't know if the cost would go down at all, but that's a consideration if we want to, what we were going to do with those. Also, we had a repair at the west side of the North Causeway boat dock, and the city engineer is advising that the east side needs to be demolished and disposal of the substructure timbers and the decking. You could reuse the pilings, but he's recommending that that's an improvement we need to do as well. That's on here for $69,000 was the estimate. We of course have to go out to bid on that one. And like I mentioned, the next slides, this is a picture of our maintenance operation and the deterioration on the columns of the steel building. That's just some more pictures of the inside, the rust that's going there. And there's one column that's even a wood column instead of a metal column helping to hold that structure up. This is Smith Street. It has multiple buildings you can switch to. This is one of the roofs. We tried to get quotes from, to be honest, roofing contractors. They didn't want to go up on the roof to quote it. So we don't have a repair quote right now for that. But if we were considering in the future moving out of that facility, then you wouldn't want to go to that expense to repair that. So after the pictures, the next one is our stormwater fund. We have the Corbin Park Master Stormwater Plan. There's $250,000 allocated this year. The scope of the projects would have to be decided after that plan was developed. Same with the historic west side. We also have Riverside Park has a seawall that's under the bridge that we're under discussion with FDOT about whose responsibility that is, but there's repairs needed at that wall as well. And just, if there's small drainage projects that the commission identifies, we put in a request for $250,000 for that for next year as well. And solid waste, other than the transition with all the new customers, we'd like to look at these high-capacity solar-powered compactable trash containers. They would contain up to 5 times what our containers do now. They're limited companies that provide that right now, and they want you to lease them. I was hoping that we could get a couple and try them out, but we haven't. We can look into that we've tried, but we'll try again if the commission is interested in something like that. It was just another way to try to improve our collection on Flagler and Canal Streets when we have all the different events that we have going on. And what else do I have? So, and then I just have a list of capital projects beyond 2021. The UCF study on the solar feasibility is coming to the commission on February 11th. They've identified 4 facilities that would benefit from, they would produce more power than needed. But there's a number of other energy efficiencies in their study for lighting, HVAC, some other things we'd need to prioritize of what we'd like to do to implement some of their recommendations. So they'll be here on the 11th. In the future, the long wooden pier at Buena Vista Park, we keep repairing it. It's going to need replacement at some point, the one that's closest to the bridge. We've done the smaller one, but the bigger one. And this was in our mini master parks plan when we did it kind of internally with staff, if we were interested in paving the parking lots at the 3 beachfront parks that we have to grade every week so. And Nancy already mentioned we mentioned a community center there. I had heard there was some discussion of a sports complex type of recreational facility west of 95, but you've already talked about that. And we are also in discussions with the Utilities Commission about possibly sharing a facility with them for fleet maintenance out by behind Walmart, back in their property there, sharing their fleet and our fleet together. We're still there. I think they've hired their consultant to work on a design, and we're working with them. And then this last page just mentions some of your special revenue funds and the current status of what's available in those different funds. Stormwater fund, all the funds have been encumbered or reserved. The parking fund has funds available, and the recreation impact fee is at 11 right now, but an anticipated collection of 87 for this year. So I know I went through that kind of quick, so questions?
No, that's good. So we've got, gentlemen, about 15 minutes. We could go a little bit over if we needed to, so it gives everybody about 3 to 5 minutes. If we split it equally, I probably won't need that long, so I'll defer some of my time. So start with the vice mayor.
I'll take your 3.
All right, I thought you might.
There's a lot of information here. The Riverside Park seawall, that's a yes. Small drainage projects, which I pushed for, certainly continue to support. The 2 stormwater plans, which totals $500,000. I'm a little concerned that that amount of money, I understand, will go towards designing a lot of things that aren't exactly stormwater related, such as street improvements and all that. So I think we really have to refine our proposal that goes out to make sure we're spending stormwater funds on stormwater issues. When we do the Corbin Park stormwater plan, I think that should also include the effects that would have on the Turnbull Creek. Turnbull Creek Authority or Committee has constantly goes over the issues that facility, that creek, is not capable of handling the stormwater that comes off due to all the debris that's collected over the last 200 years. Okay. So I want to make sure that that study addresses that issue, because perhaps we'll have some money to do something there also. I'm sure I'm going to miss a few things. The LED lighting at the sports complex, I'm very much for. However, I think that we should spend 20 and 21, the 20-21 budget in doing the planning for it and not expecting to spend any actual funds, because I know that can be broken down to the main football field. Now we have the soccer fields, we have the baseball fields. Right. It's easy to phase that in. So that big number of 1.6 million for next year scares me. I would like to see it spread out. As everybody knows, I'm very much concerned with the budgets. Going down to the maintenance yard upgrades in Smith Street, as you mentioned, we're looking into the possibility of some type of shared facility. I don't want to do anything above mere Band-Aids to make sure the building doesn't fall down, especially on Smith Street, because I don't think we should have our facilities there. We could probably sell that property once we're out of there and gain enough to build brand new facilities somewhere else within the next year or two, hopefully. I think I have one more piece of paper here and then I'm done. No, I might be done. What I'm going to do with both these reports, I do have the printouts. I'm going to mark them up. I'll distribute them through the manager, and he can forward them to both of you, because I can't remember what I just said, and I'm sure you can't either. So that way I'll give you something to work on.
The video.
Okay.
And the video.
If we can get a copy of that too, that'd be great.
Certainly, I'm sure the manager will. I can't send it to you. I'm not
No,
allowed.
you got this.
So I will distribute it the proper way.
Okay.
Thank you for really looking into a lot of things. I forgot one thing. Barracuda Bridge replacement, which is being paid for in large part by the state. It's going to replace probably 80% of the distance of Barracuda Boulevard from the North Causeway to Quayasisi. It would it would be really silly not to extend that project into those two intersections, because it's a main function point on North Causeway. It's got a traffic light, leads to Marine Discovery Center, and that should be a focal point, just as enhancing the entrance at 95. I'm done.
All right. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to be brief, Faith. I've got a lot. For stormwater, please, for everybody in this room, Brian, baffle boxes and backflow preventers for any new systems that we would be building new or backfitting, retrofitting for water quality. And quickly, lawn clippings, the fellows who do our contracting, our city maintenance workers who do the lawns, I've noticed still very many people just blow the clippings into our storm drains. It's a small issue, but then it becomes a large issue, so please make a note of that. The seawall at Manatee Riverside Park, I think it should be a priority. Even so, we're going back and forth with FDOT. It's my thought that we should fix it, pay for it, and then fight it out with them, because we're going on 4.5 years since it's been failing, and it's getting worse, and I don't want a little kid to fall in there. It's a really dangerous situation. I would omit Spyglass. I still cannot find that it's on our list of properties. So you could take the money from Spyglass and use it for Buena Vista, which is widely used under the North Causeway. That might be a good recommendation. And let's see what else. A question about paving the parking lots that we have. If we do, we have to provide somehow for stormwater, right?
Right.
Okay.
And my estimates, honestly, and there might be a little low, including the stormwater. Those were from a couple of years ago. So I was getting Kyle and Brian's input on that. But yes, paving them would require the stormwater improvements too.
And to echo Vice Mayor Colodi, what am I echoing? Yes, it is we're considering fixing up our maintenance yard facilities. And of course, we're also considering a western shared fleet service area, combined.
Fleet, right.
So do you think we need to do both?
Well, the discussion so far had been for just the two fleet, the UC's fleet and our fleet to go. Well, that's only, a portion of what we have on Industrial Park. We have the Streets and Stormwater Division is out of there, and the administration building is there too. So unless we were going to do a big, combined facility, right now fleet is one part of it. So.
Do you think it's feasible to have just one centralized location, or should we keep the facility at the airport?
It has good and bad. I mean, I think a new facility and any cost sharing that we could have with the UC for, having it together for maintaining all of our fleet would be good. It's a little further out, but there's plus and minuses for both, so, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Please, I strongly recommend that we work on our stormwater systems. It is affecting our water quality, and as we grow, we're going to be challenged ever so much greater with these impaired water bodies. So I hope I don't have to bring a motion someday that we're working on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Faith, the stormwater fund is where we're going to get the funds for the, where you're proposing the studies, for Corbin Park area?
Yes.
Right, and that
Right.
money has to stay with stormwater,
Right.
correct? Okay. So we either have that money budgeted or we don't, is for the most part, right?
The design part was budgeted for
Right.
both of those, but not, we don't know what the projects are going to be
Right,
yet.
but that money doesn't get confused with general fund money or other pieces of money.
no,
So
it's
if
stormwater
that
fund.
money's there, we can do it. I certainly think we should, if the money is there in the stormwater fund. There's a lot in here. I'm just going to make a few comments. I think I think that when you talk about what we're going to do, the better bang for the buck, fixing up existing infrastructure is to know the Rocco Park Pier and the Spyglass, very expensive.
Right.
So I think that we're probably better off taking funds that would go to redoing those docks and putting it into the one near Buena Vista Park,
bigger one?
where it's going to actually a lot of people use. Which, you know, we've had a lot of discussion in the past about how many of these parks actually get used. The Turnbull Park, where that swing set needs to be replaced. Do we actually have any numbers of any idea of how many people actually use that park?
We
and
don't really
similar?
have numbers. We've gotten a few calls when we first took it out. There was some discussion of changing that park into a dog park. You know, the back half of it, letting it be a dog park, which, we could do pretty reasonably, just fences and gates and put some,
So I think that's a better
that's another idea for that park.
Because we've had a lot of discussion on the commission, and even back when the economy tanked and there was loss of revenues. We have so many little parks all over the place, and sometimes just fields are pretty good. Kids need open space, play soccer, play football. We don't necessarily need to put equipment into these.
I think a lot of people actually do take their dogs out there, or they go out and kick a soccer ball. Or
It's
what,
next to a fire station, a police station, if the dogs get out of control. So, anyway, that's the only comments I have for today, but thank you.
Can I ask would the commission be voting on those piers at some point that we would, if that's the decision, to demolish them instead of leaving them closed off the way they are now?
Yeah, I think based on today, if your staff wants to you'll hear the sentiment of today. If you want to come back with a recommendation, say, listen, we heard that most of you were in favor, it sounds like, of not rebuilding those, so here's our recommendation of a path forward. I'd say that would be for staff to
We
bring back
have
to
a
us. Yeah.
couple of residents that they wrote us, I guess, about a month ago, asking about the one on Spyglass. They live
Yeah.
in the neighborhood, they use it. They wanted to do some fundraising, but in the meantime, they want to keep it. So we'll respond to them and we'll bring it back to you probably the first meeting in either February or the second meeting.
Commissioner Hartman, I want to hear from you first. I'll come back to you.
I think with the parks is all a part of the master plan thing. If we have someone who looks at that and says, maybe you don't need these two piers, you can do away with them because you have sufficient others, we can direct the monies and the time and effort that way. So I think the master plan is going to be the key to a lot of these things. I certainly hope that we're having good discussions with the UC on the joint facility, which would open up space at Industrial Park, right? If we move fleet maintenance out, you'll have some.
Then you could possibly move the Smith Street over and use.
Right.
And it's not quite the same facility, but yeah.
Yeah, I kind of have an issue of throwing good money after bad projects. So rather than to try to do some of these repairs, I think maybe we could look at something different, especially if we're up on Industrial Park, maybe doing something that we could build now as a storage facility that we could maybe later use as a hangar space, if we repurpose that, something that's going to be dual purpose. That if we decide to move maintenance somewhere else in the future, we can at least have, a building there that's usable to somebody else. So, just keep those thoughts in mind as we look at these. But I do have concerns with them working over on Smith Street because some of those timbers look pretty bad, and I would hate for us to have.
The timber one, that's at Industrial Park, the one with the columns.
Well, some of the roof leakage
Oh,
also.
that is a part of the building that they're not using, they're in the front, but they
Right.
do have storage in one of those other buildings with the roof issues.
Yeah, so, I think that down the road, we should look at moving out of there. I agree with Commissioner Colodi. I don't think we need to be there or should be there. I think another facility somewhere else, whether we marry it with Industrial Park or work something out with the UC. Keeping in mind, though, that they own the land, not us, so we'll have to work something with them. So,
And I just wanted to clarify, the dollar amount that shows next to Smith Street was a plan to physically move them to maintenance op,
Right.
and another steel bay building
Okay.
with the sign shop, you know, if we were going to do all that. Now, if Fleet moved out, that would be a different plan.
Okay. So just, I mean, just those are some thoughts to keep in mind as we work through these. You know, we're early in the budget process. We don't have expected dollars, what we're actually going to gain or have to spend. So just as we keep those things in mind, I certainly think that working for the future would be better than trying just to patch up what we currently have, because it's going to be a continual patch. It never gets better, so.
Okay.
You know, our main goal was to build a public works compound.
Right.
This operation compound. And we have a property out there on Glencoe. We thought we have more upland than what's out there. So initially was a public works compound along with fire and police training facilities. Then we found out that the property, actually the upland, is a lot less than what we thought it was. So with the idea that we joined with the UC to have the fleet maintenance to go out there, that would give us at least some space for moving Smith Street out there. Because Smith Street is really in a terrible condition and they
Right.
need to move out. And then having the exposed bay at that site, you know, close in the open area. I mean, you look at the T-hangar at the airport that they demolish. I mean, it was sandblasted and redone almost every 5 years. This one was sandblasted probably about 15. So it's you got open area like that, salt water and metal, and that's what you get. But
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, our goal is to have the bigger
Good.
compound.
Vice Mayor, sorry, were you?
No, I'm finished,
wrapped
thanks.
up? Vice Mayor, you had one other thing?
Oh, more than one, but
Okay.
I do support what Commissioner Hartman said. I think it's a very good idea. Kind of get out of something like that. Seems like a good thing to do. One thing we didn't talk about is the AOB site. Shouldn't that be on one of these lists here somewhere?
Well, the mini improvements we were doing, I thought that was this year's budget, and that's,
I know,
we've been
but
working with
long-term
Michelle
plan.
on that.
Well,
As far as not your big long-term
well, I
hope
want
for that.
I'm very interested in a long-term plan,
know.
and I'm going to be sitting down with her, and hopefully we can put in for a find grant for that this year. So it should just be on the list somewhere.
Okay.
So in closing, my quick things, I don't disagree with anything that was said. You know, the plan and the usage, I think Commissioner McGurk hit it. As we think about some of these things, I know it's almost impossible to track, but it feels like we're investing in something that you drive by it doesn't matter the time of day or night, you struggle to find someone there. And then there's other places like that Buena Vista fishing pier, it's always in use. So I think if we can just apply some gut reads to it in the absence of data to invest where we think we're getting the usage, and then having some kind of a master plan when it comes back to these facilities, just kind of having okay, here's what the plan is over the next 3 to 5 years. I am a huge proponent. Kyle and I kicked off that conversation with the shared facility. To the extent we can do that, that's the best use of our citizens' dollars on both the UC side and the city side. So I agree. I think the comment that Commissioner Vice Mayor Colodi made was, or someone, Band-Aids only until we get the right facility in the right place. And other than that, I'd rather see us just doing the bare minimum. But let's not have buildings fall on people. So if it's unsafe, we got to get out of there. And on the LEDs, I agree with I think the phased approach. I would love to, personally, I'd love to see us, especially if the turf thing goes through, I would love to see us pursuing maybe even just a football field now, because that one would then become probably one of the most heavily used fields, especially for tournaments and things like that. And I think with those LEDs, it might even up our revenue opportunities for night events and things like that. So I would personally like to see us try to push that as early as possible, and maybe even find some funding for that. So I know we went through this super quick, so go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I
Sorry.
always forget something. The enhanced landscaping for our entryway at 44 and 95, I thought I had heard a long time ago that FDOT messed up some of our landscaping, and they may be responsible to help us renourish it?
That was more, and, you know, I need to follow up with them because that was like, they had said it was 2 years out that they were going to come back and do some of the landscaping. But they were talking, literally had a plan to put landscaping in the middle, the valleys of the two. Because there was you know, that you would see it, I guess, I don't know how you would see it. You would see it when you're driving by on
It's the
the
area,
top,
it's
so.
the area between the two bridges, the north and the southbound. They had some landscaping on the bank.
Right.
And so that was taken out, but it's their property to begin with. They paid for the initial investment, which is 1.5 million. So during our discussion with them, we wanted to just for them to kind of like reimburse us for the landscaping they took out from the, so they wanted to do some landscaping, but you just need to follow.
I need to follow up on where that is, but the landscaping I was talking about was more by the walls, you know, and beautifying, you know, putting the right type of, or different type of grass in with irrigation and plants along the walls, so you'd have that entry when you came in.
Please, no St. Augustine, if you can help it.
Well, okay.
No, it's hard. Faith, and I know you guys have been very careful to keep people out of unsafe structures. There was one on Smith Street that I viewed a couple of years ago, and everybody knew that they had to limit their time in that building because structurally it was really unsound. So if,
Well, okay.
yeah,
Well, we can talk
so,
about what
and
you're
I
talking
just
about.
viewed these slides, so if one of our engineers could take a look and make sure that we limit our time in some of those spaces, they really
Well,
look like.
those were the dramatic slides. I mean,
Yes,
the
they were.
part where the office is, you know, that roof is fine. You know, they are in and out of there a lot. They're really not to minimize it, but they're out in the field more than there.
right.
Except for our sign shop. He's there quite a bit making signs, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, so the beauty of this is, again, we're not making any actions on any of this until much later this year. So, in fact, Kyle, for future ones, if we can maybe at the front of these workshops, just have like an overall timeline to kind of remind us of that. So, further discussions with staff, if things want to come back at our eventual budget workshop, make some notes, comments, talk to your friends, neighbors, countrymen, and we'll talk about it more. If no other business for this meeting, we will adjourn and reconvene at the regular city commission meeting scheduled for 6:30. Meeting's adjourned.